to do that. I just had to one-up Susie just a little bit. I actually won an iPad in a dance-off with that move. So I pull it out whenever I feel like it. Thank you for having me. Thank you, Susie, for inviting me to speak. Susie's never heard me speak. That was a very brave move. And thank you all. You're about to give me half an hour of your lives. You will never get this half an hour back. And so I need to use it wisely, and I want to make sure that you enjoy yourself, that you learn some stuff, you laugh a bit, and you, most importantly, remember this half an hour. That's my job. I learnt about this event called Fearless, and I thought, that sounds awesome, I want to go to that thing. And then I met Susie, and she invited me to speak, and she said, but we want you to speak on courage. And I just thought, what the hell am I qualified to speak about courage? I have never jumped out of a plane into a war zone. I've never stood in front of a firing squad. I've never had to walk out of a violent marriage. I've only been ballsy or courageous in a corporate sense, or maybe in a hairdressing sense. But that's really about where my courage lands. But I'm guessing that's probably the experience for a lot of you. There's probably not a lot of plane divers in the room, although I know we do have one. Look, today I'm going to share with you just some of my experiences, a bit of my career trajectory. If I can't be an inspiration, I can at least be a horrible warning. So, just a quick snapshot about me. I left school and my parents were really strict. I wasn't allowed to go to schoolies, so I went and worked as a Jillaroo. And nothing knocks the princess out of a girl who went to a private girls' school than working as a Jillaroo on a farm. I laid fences, drove a tractor. It was absolutely fantastic. And when I'm Prime Minister, every kid, when they leave school... That sounded like a policy statement, didn't it? Every kid, when they leave school, will spend a year working in primary industry. It's the best. Getting your hands dirty, riding horses, building fences. I still look at a row of fences as a thing of beauty. Then I did that for a while, and then I went to uni, and I'd worked too hard at school. I wasn't ready for academics, and I dropped out of uni, and I got a fabulous job in an advertising agency. And I was in that role for only about 8 months when I had a massive motorcycle accident. And this was not a very clever business model. I had the motorcycle to get to the nightclub job on the weekends, but I had the nightclub job on the weekends to pay for the motorcycle. And I had this massive stack really close to here, just on the approach to the Sydney Harbour Bridge, and broke my leg really badly. And I was in and out of hospital for 12 months. I had 14 reconstructive operations. I nearly lost my leg. I had artery grafts, tissue grafts, skin grafts, bone grafts, the works. In the end, what saved my right leg, I got to keep it, there you go. In the end, what saved my right leg was my left leg. They grafted the calf from my left leg to the shin on my right leg. So they sewed my legs together, which is really ironic for a highly promiscuous 19-year-old. I was a mermaid for a month, and then they separated them, and we all stared, and my right leg stayed pink, and I got to keep it. But in that year, far out, there was no internet, almost no daytime TV. There was nothing to do, and in that year, I really started to think about what I would do next. I knew I wouldn't be able to work in an ad agency. I wouldn't be able to run around and be the gopher that I was. I'd have to start my own thing. So that accident actually pushed me into the entrepreneurial life I've led, and I began a little creative services firm, and I ran that for 20 years. As part of that, I developed the world's first childbirth education program just for men, and it's run in pubs all over Australia. And that was a fab little side thing I did. I'm still proud of the fact that I'm the only person who's ever got hospitals to promote pubs. So I ran the creative services firm for years. I had 3 kids while I did that. It was a great way to make a living. And then I made the leap. I was picked out of the ranks of volunteers and appointed to the CEO of a major charity. And I had to fund a network of hospitals and a midwifery school in Ethiopia. And my communication skills were exactly what I needed for that role. It was an amazing 3 years, one hell of a ride. Raised $7 million in 2.5 years. And now I'm in a completely new role, a different cause. I work for one of the most amazing humanitarians in the world, Geraldine Cox. She has bright orange hair. Weird. We look ridiculous together. So that's pretty much, in a nutshell, my career trajectory, and I stand here before you with some things to tell you about taking risks, fearlessness, courage, bravery, pluck, the things I've had to learn along the way. If I can dive straight in and say the one thing I want you to remember from my speech today, the one and only thing, if this is it, let this be it. The sooner that I stop caring what people think of me, the faster I flew. And so much energy goes into caring what other people think. And it's actually a bit conceited to think that they're thinking about you. So they're not. Just do your thing. Wear your hair how you like. Dress like a lunatic. Whatever. Who cares? Just go your path. And that has really, really served me well. I first crossed paths with Geraldine Cox on the red carpet last year. We were at the same event with Angelina Jolie and Brad Pitt. And Geraldine was one of the few people chosen to have 5 minutes to chat with Angelina Jolie. And I really do believe, this is a bit of an Oprah saying, everything you want is on the other side of fear. You just have to ask. You've got to push through that fear and make that ask. And Geraldine is such a ballsy lady. And she had this time with Angelina Jolie, and they had a chat about the work in Cambodia, and there's a fabulous connection there with Angelina. And then Geraldine thought, this is my chance. This is when I can ask her. She said, can I ask you a question? And Angelina Jolie's beautiful, fabulous, very personable lady. And she said, of course, you can ask me anything. So this is it. She's standing in front of the most famous woman in the Western world. And Geraldine looks up at her and said, can I kiss your husband? And if I had been her CEO then, I would have kicked her ass. The opportunity, but actually I thought it was a brilliant opportunity. And Angelina said, oh, it's fine with me if it's fine with him. And he was standing right there. And so Geraldine got to pash Brad Pitt. And she goes, it was more than a peck. And she goes, he tastes of chewy. So you would never know that, or Geraldine certainly would never have known that if she wasn't willing to ask. I just recently was in the back of a tuk-tuk with Geraldine somewhere in Cambodia, and I said to her, what is the bravest thing you've ever done? And I've been asking people everywhere I go that same question since I knew I'd be giving you this speech. And she didn't have to think for long. She said, oh, it was the time that the tanks came to kill us all in 1997. And in 1997, there was a military coup in Cambodia. It's a terrible history in that country, so much violence. And in 1997, there was a military coup, and a tank rolled onto the grounds of the orphanage she ran with about 60 children. And she said this tank rolled on, these 8 soldiers filed out and stood there with automatic weapons aimed at them. And she said it looked like a firing squad. And the kids were behind her, and the kids were whimpering and wetting themselves. And she thought, this is it. This is how this ends. This is so unfair. And she said, in that moment of absolute